Now we move on to Paul Moulton from Isle of Man Television. Good morning, Paul. Moramai.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me okay, sir.
Yeah.
Great. It's been a bit wobbly this end. Can I have a timeline, please? I'm seeing on the social media, in fact, MHK reported it was 10 a.m. on New Year's Eve that you had your first definite positive result, but nothing, of course, you put out until much later, in fact, quarter to midnight, as you said. Is that actually the case? And if so, surely, and we've been down the street before, as soon as you get that first case, shouldn't alarm bells be ringing? People then can make their own decisions about will they go out in that night and be that close to other people. Can you confirm that, please?
Henrietta?
I don't have the timeline in front of me. We do have it, so we can confirm it.
It was early in the morning, though, wasn't it?
David has the details on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to come in, Paul, and give you the timeline.
Thanks.
So the positive case was identified 10 a.m, as you rightly say, on New Year's Eve, and isolated. But then, of course, we have to undertake the contact tracing. So the contact tracing was initiated the moment that we knew of this case. The 8 close contacts were identified at approximately 2:30 in the afternoon. They were then isolated and offered tests. At about 5:30, we had the tests returned from the 8 close contacts. One of those, as the Chief Minister has said, was positive. 7 were negative, and all were required to self-isolate. As part of the contact tracing process, obviously, we looked to try and identify venues and where the people would have been as well, which was ongoing. And that meant that it was actually late in the evening before we actually had anything we could guarantee to put out to the public around the situation. So the press release was then worked upon in the early evening. The decision was made to put it out that same night so that people had it. But the earliest opportunity to be able to do that, by the time all the information was collated, was around between 11:30 and 11:45.
I think the point I'm trying to make here is at 10 o'clock in the morning, you had a positive. You could have gone public with that. Forget about the tracing, to let people decide what they would like to do and make their decisions. No?
We need to know the background to it. So we needed to know the background, particularly around the 14-day self-isolation. Also the background for the people as to whether they've been out in the community, and if so, where. So that all forms part of the contact tracing. If we go out and just say there's someone who's passed their 14-day isolation without knowing the facts, where they've been and how many people they may have been in contact with, while it may be good for people to make decisions, Paul, it can also cause absolute mass panic. And this is one of the things I've emphasised again before. It is important when we do these briefings, when we put stuff out to the public, that we have the facts behind it, that we don't unnecessarily scare people, because there is people out there in the community, quite rightly, very concerned and very worried about this virus, that we don't frighten them unnecessarily. We have to have the facts to be able to convey to the public. Now, we could have held off publishing the release until New Year's Day. We took the decision that we wanted to get this out as early as possible, and the earliest possible point, with the facts in place, was New Year's Eve night.
How would there be mass panic by just telling people there's a positive case at 10 o'clock in the morning, rather than at quarter to midnight when people are already at those nightclubs? That caused the panic, surely, by people ringing you up the next day for tests.
No, Paul, the panic is what we've seen on social media already this weekend. A lot of people concerned, very vigilant people, but we've seen what happens. That's with the information out there. If we go out and we say things without the full information and the full facts there, then that will scare people unnecessarily. It's important the contact tracing, which is a very important part of this, is undertaken so we can give people the facts. If we just went out and said there's a positive case after 14 days, we don't know where they've been. We haven't got that information yet. We haven't identified all their close contacts. We haven't had those close contacts tested. Quite rightly, you guys in the media would be turning around and saying to us, why haven't you got this information for us?
Yeah, I think you're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, Paul. We did this within 13 hours. All the testing, contacting all the venues, letting them know what had gone on. I think that's pretty quick. And again, I would challenge you to find jurisdictions that are reacting as quickly as we are. So I know it's a big story, but to try and make out that by taking a small number of hours to do all the testing to make sure what the situation was, so we could give the people the full information rather than just giving them half a story, I think we've acted sensibly and responsibly rather than trying to hold press conferences every 5 minutes when you don't have all the information. And that way you get people commenting and making irresponsible decisions based on information that we've given where we don't have the full story. But Henrietta, would you like to advise?
Yes, the particular point I wanted to pick up there was, I think, Paul, you're trying to say that by saying that these cases had been present in these venues a week before, people might make a different decision about what to do on New Year's Eve. And actually the whole point there is that those venues were not places of risk on New Year's Eve. So there was no purpose in advising people in order for them to decide that they might or might not go there.
Okay. Well, my second question, you say we have all the facts, but we don't, do we? Because we don't know yet which variant this person's got until the tests come back. So, albeit that person went to a nightclub.
Can I just hang on that you've already been told by the Director of Public Health that it's not. That has no bearing on the way we handle it, what the variant is of COVID.
If I could finish
You've just been told that.
If I could finish my question, the point I'm trying to get to is that person who went to the nightclub would have gone to the toilet, they would have touched items, whatever, if they kept their own bubble, whatever, but they would have moved around that particular place, just getting in and out by the very nature of it. And the new variant is obviously incredibly much more easy to catch. Yet you still say it's a low risk, even though if it did turn out to be the higher variant, wouldn't that move it up a category?
Henrietta?
No, not on information and evidence that we currently have.
Thank you.
In addition, we are still identifying any positive cases, and if we do identify any positive cases, those samples will be sent off for the genomic analysis. But as I said before, that doesn't make any difference to the immediate management that we're currently doing.